to my teaching statement. My name is Clara Álvarez, and this is for the conditions and nature offered by the PhD Raúl Mora. Education always has been searching for new alternatives to teach and learn, principally as regards the learning of a second language. Many methods and approaches has been implemented in classrooms with the aim that the students through it can learn another language, but ignoring the characteristics, necessities, conditions, learning styles, and other aspects that contains a culture. Thinking about that, I think that as teachers, we constantly ignore that a method could be not nearly as effective to our work conditions, and will limit us in the work with the students. Teaching is not only about giving the students concepts, formulas, readings, among others. It's more like giving a specific knowledge to them, knowledge that soon could be forgotten because our education system is centered in the concepts and knowledge that are generalized, but they are not centered in context, necessities, likes, among others that are benefits for all of them. Teaching for me is like a lifestyle, principally for us as a future teachers, because we have to take the responsibility to cultivate knowledge, values, basic principles, ways of living in community, and other important things that make our profession something different. Thinking about my future profession makes me reflect about the way that I will work with them and the way that I can improve their knowledge and lives, because we cannot evade our responsibility, which is educate the citizens of tomorrow. Educate is not only transmit knowledge, it's teach about life, about social context, give the students the necessary resources to obtain a good lifestyle, and our responsibility is educate people, not things or animals. We are working with people that have necessities, problems, and other things, and our responsibility is educate for the future. In the last times, the education has had to change its ways to be seen. The customs, people, needs, resources, and so on has been changing too. It is for this reason that people in education have been searching for new alternatives and strategies which are commensurate with the time and the context where the practice is located. It signifies that some people in education constantly think about their tasks and work to provide their tools for the survival of the students in society, but in many occasions we can observe how the change has been taken from the other countries, methods that can be not beneficial or contextualized to the needs of teachers, and especially for students that constantly have been submerged in boring education that is not thinking about them. Kumarava Belu, 2006, cited by Arcila, 2013, explains that the teacher has to take into account many crucial factors in the teaching practices of a second language, such as learners' perceptions, cultural context, societal needs, political demands, economic imperatives, and institutional policies, among others. Page 4. For this reason, it must be recognized that we cannot find one perfect method for our students, and least pretend that it will work for all of them, because all of these factors impact our way of teaching and the students' necessities. In this order, I consider that teachers have to facilitate the students' learning, taking into account the students' context, because all of them have different ways to think and learn. So the teacher has to see this difference to facilitate the students' process. I mean, teacher should have the ability to take these capacities and convert them into competence that help the students' environment and provide adequate knowledge to the needs of them. For this reason, as we have in mind many strategies and activities that help students in the learning process and do an integral psychological support in this process in which the students will be comfortable and prepared. For example, I can analyze with them the context, the language, the idioms used in their homes and neighborhoods to give them new possibilities to change their own words, their own pronunciation, and give them the chance to know new English words in line with what happens around them. In Colombia, the government has been implementing many different methods and approaches with the objective that all students in public institutions learn English in an easy and practical way. But unfortunately, many of these methods are dissimilar of the Colombian necessities and context, because many of the students does not have the materials, resources, and places to practice English, and also the learning of the language does not represent a need to them. In this sense, it's important to identify that language teaching does not fall in the method implemented, but the teachers have to rescue what he or she deemed relevant and necessary for their students. In my position, I will be a teacher that put in front of the knowledge the person. In this sense, that for me it's more important to cultivate a whole person and then the knowledge, because in these recent times the values has been forgotten and the society needs people worried about the human beings and the other needs. I know that the students expect about me that my knowledge will line up of their demands, but they are expecting at the same time to find support, a role model, a person in every sense of the word, because they are ready to see at the same time of teacher what does not have feelings and always is thinking about the numerical result. I hope never have a specific method or approach, because I think that giving a single method could be more harmful than beneficial. In other words, it restricts the teaching and the learning in the classroom in as much as in many occasions it does not take into account the teaching and learning conditions, students' necessities, abilities, competence, and ways to learn, and at the same time limits the educational work. Because of me, as a teacher, it will frame me and will not let me do my work according to my students' environment needs. In this way, I will as possible try to rescue that I consider relevant or necessary for my students. I will take something about of all of methods and combine them to satisfy the needs of my students. In this line of thoughts, I will reject this type of methods that only pinhole to the students, and I will look for new ways to teach a second language. I will to adapt my own method according to the academic needs of my population. It is called local grounded approaches of the language learning and teaching, Arcila 2013. In this way, the method should be seen as Larsen Freeman 2000, cited by Arcila 2013, mentioned. A scale for professional growth in terms of expanding the teacher repertoire and providing teachers with different options to choose and decide what to do in the classroom. Page 5. For this reason, I consider that through the reflection, observation, planning, action, and evaluation cited by Johnson and Christine 2004, McNiff 2002, Burns 2003, Cummins and McGar 1988, I will to be aware about the linguistic needs of my students as the possibility to understand and change my own pedagogical practice and help students to learn a second language properly. In this order, about that I have to innovate, to present new ideas about the task, and look for new alternatives that could improve my classroom work, and principally help and teach to my students important things for their lives. Otherwise, I expect, as the majority of teachers, that my students learn as possible with respect to the language knowledge. It means that I want that my students can talk and can understand what I say to them, namely improve their English communicative competence, but at the same line, the knowledge will be permeated by respect and tolerance for the others who are not converted in my object, but in a subject that needs my attention and help. In this sense, when my students take my class, they will be able to communicate in English in a respectful manner, and they can, at the same time, learn good things for their daily lives. To achieve these things, it's important for me as a teacher to be clear for them. I have to be disciplined, researcher, respectful, and other things that provide me the opportunity to consider as a good teacher. In this sense, my students will be improved intellectual skills as interpretation, reasoning, research, and among others. For this, it's necessary that me, as a teacher, implement new ways to learn and innovate constantly my way of teaching and reject as possible when the need arises the memorization and repetition, and that knowledge that I will give them, they can connect with their usual environment, which would cause them to do use, therefore, in their own context. It is noteworthy that I will be very organized with my time class. I will give the necessary time for students in what corresponds well classwork. I consider that it is important that students will have the opportunity to interact with other classmates, but seizing the moment to do their do. In other words, I will be accompanying in the language learning process, which will facilitate the development of their autonomy through different activities that provide teamwork, but also the autonomous work. This classroom autonomy will help them to be responsible people, to take their own decisions in a critical way. In the same line of autonomy, I will give homeworks to my students that do not provide boredom, but that could be a tool for learning and review that will be a fun approach to knowledge. Homeworks that will make them think about their context and possibilities to improve it, and also to develop in them the communicative competence. In the classwork, I think that is essential the collaborative work, but at the same time an inclusive work. But this not mean only that people with different needs will be in the classroom, if not that they will have the chance to share their experience, their learning strategies. But inclusion also means that everyone has a chance to give their point of view and make it respected. I can say that we have to change our mind, neglect the consumerism of theory, and become producers of knowledge from our small classrooms through the reflection of our daily practices and impacted through new educational proposals, which foster human capabilities and skills in our students. In this way, the teacher's work should be based on the educational needs of their students, and they should stop hearing vain and discontextualized theories that only cause confusion in our classroom. The task of education is finally to rethink the Education Act to generate aware citizens. Finally, I consider that teacher is the principal tool to form competent citizens with their country and environment. For this, it's necessary that we, as a future teacher, prepare ourselves in a proper way, not only with regard to academics, but at the same time to cultivate our person, so that in this way we don't offer an education for the amount, but for quality. I hope that when I will be in the classroom, I could have the opportunity to give the best of me to my students, and that I will be able to change possibly their minds and make them a good people, because more than brains or working machines, we need people to work toward to the community and its necessities.
Created using Powtoon.